My name is Chelsea Anderson, and this is my final speech for public speaking. In today's world, obesity is a huge problem, and the main issue is sugar is poison. Sugar is the real poison of today. In this speech, I'm going to tell you all about why sugar is poison and why you should not eat or drink it. According to a report by Credit Suisse, several health conditions including coronary heart disease, type 2 diabetes, and metabolic syndrome all have been linked to sugar. That is why I think sugar is a true poison. This information was all provided by a global research by Dr. Gary Knoll called "Sugar is Killing Us Sweetly." I know many people have struggled with not just diabetes, but other complications with excessive sugar use. I have talked to them, and I have also talked to diabetic nurses and also a few doctors about this topic. They all believe that sugar is also a poison. After this speech, it is my hope that you all know what sugar is doing to your health, and I hope you can help others avoid sugar. I hope you can spread the word that sugar is poison. First off, I will talk about what a sugar addiction is, and then we will transition into why sugar is a poison. Your body will not allow sugar at high amounts. I will also talk about the risk and health concerns of high amounts of sugar in the body. Initially, I'm going to talk about what a sugar addiction is. A sugar addiction is when a person has to have sugar in order to carry on with their day. It is like other addictions such as nicotine. A sugar addiction is not just like other addictions. Even though people presume sugar to be harmless, it is just as serious as nicotine, alcohol, or drug addictions. Any type of addiction is when you want a certain thing all the time and cannot live day to day without that high feeling they want. All that information was provided by an article by Ashley Gearhart, Michael Roberts, and Maurice Ash called "If Sugar is Addictive, What Does That Mean for the Law?" The components of addiction was something I really had no idea of until after I researched this topic. There are 3 components to addiction. First, a person is not able to decrease the use of a substance. The person is still using even though they know there is a harm. And they have lack of control when getting the substance. Once again, all of this information was provided by an article by Ashley Gearhart, Michael Roberts, and Maurice Ash called "If Sugar is Addictive, What Does That Mean for the Law?" Now, how can sugar even become addictive in the first place? It becomes addictive when a person is slowly exposed to the sugar more and more over time. And it comes to a point where they have to have it every day in order to live on. A study was done on rats that were addicted to cocaine. They were given cocaine and sugar, and all the rats chose the sugar over cocaine. That means that in humans, sugar and drugs of abuse both activate similar brain symptoms. That is how obesity and addiction are linked to one another. They both activate the same parts within the brain. Once again, this information was provided by an article, "Sugar is Addictive, What Does That Mean for the Law?" Secondly, I'm going to talk about why sugar is poison and why it is toxic. Sugar is harmful not just to adults, but also to children. Sugar is not just an empty calorie. Lustig, a well-known advocate for sugar, says that sugar is not even about the calories in sugar because it's poison itself. He also says that sugar is the primary reason that obesity and diabetic rate for Americans has increased largely over the past 30 years. This information was provided by an article out of the New York Times by Gary Taubes called, "Is Sugar Toxic?" Now I'm going to show you a few different charts here about how the obesity rates in the United States have raised over the years. So right here in 1972, for an adult is the top line. We started out about 15%, and now in 2014 we're 35%. So that's a huge increase for the adults. And the children started out at 5%, and I think we're up to about 17%. So as you can see, the child obesity rate is not nearly as high as the adult, but it's still pretty high, and we need to get that down. Now this graph kind of shows us what the percentage of obese adults is, ages 20 to 74. So in 62, there's only 13% of adults who are obese, and then in 2010, there was 36%. These were all provided by the CDC. USA Today believes by 2030 the obesity rate will be to 42%. And the CDC says if the obesity rate continues to rise like it has, by 2030, 32 million more people will be affected by obesity. Both of these charts were by the NHLBI, which is the National Heart, Lung, Blood Institute. It was an obesity report called "Obesity Could Affect 42% of Americans by 2030." And it was written by Nancy Hemlick with USA Today. Sugar can kill you. If logic is right, sugar could be the likely cause of several chronic illnesses such as heart disease, hypertension, and many cancers. He believes sugar needs to be looked at in the same sense as alcohol and cigarette abuse, because they are also killing us. This information was provided by the New York Times article by Gary Taubes saying, "Is sugar toxic?" Sugar is more than what you bake with and put in your coffee. It is anything made of sucrose. It is anything from beet sugar cane, either white or brown, and also high fructose corn syrup. High fructose corn syrup is a new trend, but it is now in almost everything, especially everything that is processed. It was started in the 1980s. This is when it was put into soda. After being put into soda, it completely went off track and is in everything now. At first, it thought it was a healthy alternative, but now we know it's not. It is also cheaper, and that is why it is in everything processed. Once again, all this information was given by New York Times article by Gary Taubes, "Is Sugar Toxic?" Sugar really does cause detriment to a person's health after time. Sugar damage isn't always seen on the outside of the body, such as obesity, but obesity is the biggest problem. Knowing if you are obese all comes from a BMI table. A BMI number tells you if you are obese or normal, and it uses your height and weight. I'm going to show you how to figure your body mass index, or BMI. You take your weight over your height squared. So a normal BMI numbers are here. So less than 18.5 is underweight, 18.5 to 24.9, that's normal weight, 25 to 29.9 is overweight, 30 to 34.9 is obesity 1, and 35 to 39.9 is obesity 2, and anything over 40 is extreme obesity. I also have this table kind of showing you different weights or looks of obesity. So here's a normal BMI person, and here's also a normal BMI person. This normal BMI person is metabolically healthy, and this is a metabolically unhealthy. So differences, this one has chronic illnesses, and this one also has muscle loss. And this guy is pretty much fit. So then we have an obese BMI, but metabolically healthy, and obese BMI, but metabolically unhealthy. So metabolically unhealthy, once again, has muscle loss. He doesn't work out. He has diabetes. He has inflammation and high cardiac risk, so high risk for heart attack. And if you look at the guy who's actually metabolically healthy, he has increased muscle. He also works out, but he's still obese, and he has a mild cardiac risk. Once again, meaning he could still have a heart attack. Sugar can cause multiple diseases and problems to the health of a human. One of the main is that we are all have known about is obesity. Obesity is when someone is overweight for their height and weight and over their average BMI. Another common risk is type 2 diabetes. The other risks are heart disease, high blood pressure, liver disease, decreased cardiovascular disease, dental issues such as cavities, osteoporosis, and impaired brain function. All of this was provided by an article by Gary Knoll called Sugar Killing Us Sweetly. There is a huge history of sugar causing problems with the human body. In 1942, medical specialists began looking into the damage sugar took on the human body. And the doctors also said people needed to start limiting their intake of sugar. And you know what? Still not much has changed. But you know what? It's gotten worse. In 1997, Coca-Cola made a huge step to get attention of the sugar to young adults and children. They did this by a TV ad. All of this information was provided to me by an article by Gary Knoll called Sugar Killing Us Sweetly. There is another issue with sugar, and it is in the environment. When sugar is grown by farmers, it causes a type of damage like deforestation. Soil erosion is also likely to happen. With this happening, experts say within the next 40 years, all the forests will be gone. This was provided by an article by Gary Knoll, Sugar Killing Us Sweetly. I'm going to take a step back for a second, and we're going to since we talked about all the diseases that obesity can cause, I just kind of have a chart here saying what all it can cause. So up here, pulmonary disease, it can cause abnormal function, obstructive sleep apnea, and hypoventilation. Stroke and cardiac is another risk of obesity. Coronary heart disease, a fatty liver disease such as cirrhosis, once again diabetes, hypertension, severe pancreatitis, gallbladder disease, infertility, polycystic ovarian disease. You can have problems with your skin, or you can have gout. Once again, cancer such as breast, uterus, cervix, colon, esophagus, pancreas, kidney, and prostate. There's also some other ones if you can kind of look, and it just kind of shows you where in the body the obesity is affecting you. So what have we learned from this? Sugar is like a poison, and it will harm you after high amounts of exposure. Sugar is not something to mess around with. It is a poison and can kill you. As a final point, sugar will harm you and can cause long-term effects on your health. I hope the next time you are hungry for a piece of cake or for a soda, you'll think twice about grabbing it and go for something with lots less sugar or even sugar-free. Since we all now know what sugar can do to you, let's think about the people we know who love sugar. And we all need to know what sugar can do to you. Do you want to live without health complications due to sugar? Do you want to be able to fit into those skinny jeans again? If you said yes to either question, you need to quit eating sugar, and that will greatly increase your lifespan. Thank you.